The game one I want to show you is with FM Tanveer Gillani, and he's currently the best Blitz player in Pakistan, rated number 1. He's actually rated nearly 2300, and I have encountered with him in this video, and it is actually with Blitz. So let's just straightly dive into it. I have a white pieces and Tanveer Gillani has a black pieces. I open the game with the e4, he goes for c5, knight f3, knight c6, and d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, and e5. Now there is multiple moves you can play. You can either go for knight to b3, knight f3, knight to b5, many moves here, but I just go for knight to b5. I want some sharp variation, and he played a6, giving away his bishop with a check. So I placed knight check, I took with the queen, and he attacks my queen with queen f6. Now I actually studied this line a little bit, and I see that queen trade was not good, so I goes real back queen to d1, and he plays queen to g6, trying not to develop my bishop while attacking my pawn. And I plays knight to c3, and he plays d5. He just actually giving away the pawn with nothing to show. Maybe he want to play this move somehow. I was sure that after this move I was fine, but I goes for knight takes, and he took with the queen, and I place knight back to e4. And after knight move I plays bishop to d3, attacking his queen, and he goes for check. I just block with c3, and after queen e7 I just castles, and he has also castles. And I place queen to c3, queen to c2, and he goes for queen to e4. And I place bishop to e2. Then he goes for bishop to knight to e5, just pressurizing me a little bit. And then I goes for b3, and b3 has a hidden trap. It was actually a 3.0 game, so I sure he might get trapped here. So after b3 he plays b5, and I just goes for a4, and a4 is just not giving up a pawn, means not giving up a pawn structure like this. After that I place just bishop to a3, and he just lose one of an exchange. And after that I don't even rush to even take there and give him some type of pony here, which he actually can't take advantage of it. But still I just go for queen takes on b3, and after bishop to e6 I just took his queen. After he took my queen I just took his rook, and I was up in exchange, and I was quite happy actually. And I took his pawn, and he just move away with the rook because he don't want a rook trade, and because he might be losing here, and he is actually losing. And after c4 and knight after d7 I goes for rook to a5, attacking his knight. If he moves this knight, so he has to defend somehow, but he plays queen to d3. I place rook to b1, and queen takes bishop takes on c4, which I was happy about because I just want to simplify the position. After bishop takes on c4 he took with the rook, and I plays rook to d5, just waiting to see what he do. He plays rook 7 to e5, which I just took advantage of it because I just want to simplify the position, and I took on e5 with my rook, because if he takes with the knight he's going to be simplifying to rook and knight endgame. So after he took, I took it with my bishop, and after that I played rook to b7, just limiting his king. So he has to play g6, king to g7, and somehow try to march forward. And the rest of the game was just shuffling and shuffle, and I just win all the pawns. And after few of the moves he just resigned because he was just losing a game here, and he can't do anything about that. Khurrum Qureshi, which is the Sindh champion, and he's currently rated 2600 in Lichess and 2400 in chess.com. So this game, I have white pieces and Khurrum Qureshi have a black pieces, and show you the Scandinavian defense with queen on d6. So let's just really dive into it. So as a Scandinavian, you go e4, d5, takes, and attack the queen with the knight. And there are multiple ways you can go: queen to a5, queen back to d8, queen to d6. Either you can check here, but he goes for queen to d6, which is actually a trending line. And I goes for bishop to c4, and he plays knight f6, and then I play knight f3. Now there is multiple ways you can play this position. You can just pin my knight, play bishop to g4, or I can play e6, c6, many moves here. But here he plays a6, which I thought was a bit of a slow move, and I just plays d4. He played knight c6, and allow me to push my pawn even further. I just plays d5, and he goes for knight to e5, attacking my bishop. So I thought I have to move it, but I just choose to take the knight and play bishop to e3. I thought I am having more development. So I took it, he took, I played bishop to e3, and he just attacked my pinned knight with knight to g4. But before that he goes for b5, and I play bishop to b3, logical move, and then he goes for knight to g4. Now if I straightly castles, he is just winning my pawn with knight takes, pawn takes, and queen takes. So I just defended with queen f3. Now he just took it, I took with the pawn because I don't want a queen trade, because I was a bit good in development. So he just played rook b8. He thought that this move could be problematic because I will simultaneously attacking his rook, and maybe I could do some damage here because everything would be hanging. So after that I castled, attacking his f7 pawn, and he just defended with f6, sorry. Now I saw that he is just attacking, trying to attack on queen side, and he has no development, and his king side is going to get weak if after attacks queen side. So I just really goes for a4. After a4 he plays a logical move, which is b4, closing the queen side, and then I go for knight to e4. Now this is a critical move of the game, and he has to find the good moves here, but he didn't. He plays bishop to b7, which allows me a great advantage in the game throughout, which I actually took, and I plays knight to c5. And after knight to c5, you can either play bishop to c1, bishop to c8, or just depart it with this bishop, or just play anything else here, do something. But he just plays bishop to a8. It just allows me a free pawn, which I took because I'm a pawn grabber. I took the pawn. If the rook is attacked, so he moves it to g8, and now I place queen f4 while attacking the c7 pawn and allowing the queen, because I see that I'm a pawn and he's losing another pawn, and if I have a queen trade I will be winning because I'm just up in the materials and up in development. So he took, I can just take with the pawn and have a solid pawn structure, but I want just activity, so I took it with the rook while attacking his pawn. He plays rook to c8, just defending the pawn. I just play rook to c4. I just want to take this pawn, and he plays king to d8, and then just took the pawn with the knight, and he plays e5. And I knew the en-passant rules, so I just took on e6 with en-passant. So he plays bishop to d6, and I go for rook to d1 while pinning his bishop. He unpinned with queen to e7, and I just give a check with queen to c6 check. He took, I took, and he go for rook to b8. And here was the magical move I play, and I was so happy that I found. And I goes for rook takes on c7. Because I was winning a pawn, and his rooks and king will be on the final ranks doing nothing. So after takes, I give a check and took the bishop. Now here you can't just do anything. You have to find the most forcing way to come out of this. And the one I thought he will find, and he actually find, was to play g6 and go rook to g8, king to f8, and try to go like that. But he was too slow for that. So after this, I just push the pawn, because if he ever try to do this, he might have to lose a rook, one of the rooks. So he plays rook to a8, and I go a6, because if he takes, he is going to lose a rook. And he plays king to d8, and I give a check. Now he can actually hold on to the game with king to e8 little bit, but he plays king to c8, and it just allowed me a very powerful move, which is going to bishop to d5. And after bishop to d5, you are not allowed to even take a pawn, because after check you're losing a rook. But he actually fall into it, and after that he just lost a whole rook, and the rest of the game was just a tortured death, and he got just checkmated here. So it was a fun game, and the second game I want to show you is with Tanveer Gillani.